Today, I'm finally testing something that has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while now. Vice spray paint from Montana Colors. I've been curious about this paint ever since I bought it from the MTN Montreal store, but I never actually got around to using it. So today, we'll find out together. How does it spray? How well does it fade? Does it cover nicely? Is it worth buying? Does it smell good? Let's head to the wall. Now before heading out, I wanted to make sure I had a design that worked well with the colors I had available. One thing I absolutely love about Procreate is its color picker. Instead of guessing what my paint will look like, I simply imported a photo of all 12 vice cans, then I sampled every color directly from the photo. That allowed me to sketch the piece using the exact colors I'd be painting with later. It's honestly one of my favorite tricks, because what you see on the iPad ends up being incredibly close to the final wall. Since this was my very first vice piece, I also wanted something fairly clean. Nothing too crazy, just a solid style where I could really focus on testing the paint itself. Guess what? They finally fixed it. They didn't answer my email, they didn't return my calls, but they finally fixed the wall and they put some new plywood on here, which seems like a good quality plywood. The only problem is they put it on top of the old one that was already rotten, so that's gonna rot through it for sure, and they didn't prime it. They just left the wood as is, exposed to the elements. They didn't put any kills on there, they didn't put any other wood penetrating paint to protect it, so I'm gonna have to do it myself. There also weren't enough screws holding everything together, so every time I pressed against the wall, the entire panel flexed. Not ideal. Next time I'm here, I'll probably bring a drill and a handful of screws. At least I knew one thing was done properly, the paint. I had brought some exterior latex acrylic buff paint with me. If I'm painting on a fresh wall, I want it to be properly sealed. The fresh coat also gives me a much smoother surface to paint on. I roll the entire front, the sides, even the top edge. That way the rain won't be able to soak into the plywood nearly as easily. It's a small detail, but it'll help the wall last a lot longer. With the wall finally prepped, it was time to sketch. I actually started by sketching not only the letters, but also the 3D. That way I knew exactly where my background rectangle needed to sit. Once everything was mapped out, I masked out the large rectangle with painter's tape. Then it was finally time to crack open these vice cans. Right away I noticed something. These cans are thick. The paint comes out really rich and opaque, so covering the plywood was no problem at all. I used Submarine Yellow, Travis Yellow, and Skinny Yellow for the background rectangle. And they covered surprisingly well, considering yellow pigments usually struggle a bit. Another thing I noticed almost immediately was how quickly the paint dried. That made it really easy to layer colors without worrying about everything staying wet. For the fill, I started with Squirtle Green in the upper middle using my transversal cap. Then I faded exit green into it from the top down. Now here's the thing about vice cans. It essentially has two flow gears. One that's normal, just like any other brand, and another that's a blaster. If you press hard on the cap, that paint comes out fast. So be careful out there. For the lower half, I used Durango Blue before fading Snoop Blue into it. The colors blended beautifully. The paint itself almost seemed to encourage smooth fades. One thing I also noticed is that Vice doesn't dry completely matte. It has more of a satin finish. It's not glossy, but it does reflect just a tiny bit more light than something like MTN94. Personally, I actually like that look. Now you know me with high pressure paints, and the stock cap on these also doesn't help. It comes with a light gray cap with a hot pink dot, and that's a pretty fat cap. So between the high pressure and the fat output, paint comes out flying out of that thing. Normally that wouldn't be too much of an issue, except today was incredibly windy, so I ended up getting overspray absolutely everywhere. Thankfully, I had my favorite yellow universal cap. As soon as I switched to that, everything became much more manageable. The lines were cleaner, the paint felt much more controlled, and I found it a lot easier to paint details like my outline and the small effects. So if you're planning on trying Vice, I would strongly suggest experimenting with different caps.
Look, hand me the ball, I'm running it back. Answer the call, I'm all in my bag. They want me to ball, I charge on the max, and then they pay more cause they paying me tax.
Once the outline was finished using Fried Brown, I moved on to the 3D. I used Fried Brown, Wallaby Brown, Bhutan Orange, Vest Orange, and finally, Teddy Brown, going from darkest to lightest.
Yo, I'm fucking stupid. I'm fucking dumb as hell. Dumb as hell. I'm fucking dumb as hell. Yo, I'm fucking stupid, yo. Stupid. Yo, I'm fucking stupid, yo. I'm fucking dumb as hell.
Everybody trippy, yeah, we coming, yeah, step back. Yeah, we walking with a body bag full of cash. Cut from a different rary, raise it like a flag. Unapologetic. We gon' keep running it back, running it back, running it back. Running it back, running it back. And that's we gon' keep running it back, running it back, running it back. Running it back, running it back, running it back. Hey, 10 toes, I'ma never miss. Bomb locked in, never take a loss in the sport.
After the cutbacks, I added soft shadows underneath the letters and beneath the entire piece to help lift everything off the wall. Then I added my usual color effects using the greens up top and the blues below. At that point, the field test was officially complete. So, what do I actually think of Vice? Overall, genuinely impressed. The paint is thick, it covers extremely well, it dries quickly, the colors are vibrant, the satin finish gives it a nice look. And considering that it costs around $6 Canadian a can, it's actually pretty competitively priced. It's also available in 50 different colors, which gives you a pretty solid selection to work with. The only downside for me is the pressure. If you like high pressure paint, you'll probably love it. Personally, I've always preferred lower pressure paint because I enjoy having a little more control, especially when painting details. So for my own style, that's really the only thing holding it back. Everything else about the paint honestly exceeded my expectations. So if I had to give Vice a score, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. The only point it loses is because high pressure paint simply isn't my personal preference. If you've ever painted with Vice, let me know down in the comments what you thought of it. Did you like the high pressure? Did you switch caps like I did? Or do you have another spray paint brand you'd like for me to try next? If you enjoyed this field test, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, man. Until next time, stay up.